Emberwind Valley was quiet tonight, the kind of quiet that came before a storm, or something far worse. The red sunset spilled across the cliffs, painting them in shades of fire that seemed to flicker with a life of their own. It was a place full of secrets, legends whispered over campfires and carried by the wind, and yet the most famous legend of all felt more alive than the valley itself. Emberwind's last dragon. For centuries, Emberwind Valley was home to dragons of breathtaking beauty and power. They were said to be the guardians of the land, creatures of fire and air who brought prosperity to the people who lived in their shadow. But prosperity brought greed, and greed brought war, and by the time the last light of the final battle faded, Emberwind's skies had gone silent. The dragons were gone, all except one. They called her Mirathan, the last flame, a dragon of blazing gold, aged and powerful, hiding deep within the valley's labyrinth of cliffs and caves. Most thought her long dead, a relic of Emberwind's tragic past, but some claimed she still lived, watching from the shadows, guarding something too powerful or too sacred to let fall into human hands. Merrin didn't believe in stories, at least not anymore. He'd grown up hearing the tales of Mirathan, his grandmother's crackling voice weaving them over the hum of the fireplace. But life in Emberwind Valley wasn't a fairy tale. It was harsh, unforgiving, and full of people willing to do whatever it took to survive, even if that meant using others. Merrin had been used too many times to count, tossed aside by people who promised to care but never returned when things got hard. Now, he was alone, drifting through the valley's jagged paths, the weight of his pack digging into his shoulders. He wasn't here for legends or dragons. He was here for gold, or the promise of it. The rumors had spread quickly through the valley's villages. Mirathan's hoard had been found. Somewhere deep in the cliffs, treasure beyond imagining lay untouched, protected only by the bones of a dragon long gone. Whoever could find it would live like kings. And Merrin? He wasn't above chasing a dream, even one as foolish as this. He had nothing to lose. Except it turned out the rumors had missed one small detail. Mirathan wasn't gone. The cave was cold, even colder than the night outside. Merrin's torch threw shadows against the damp walls, flickering like little ghosts as he stepped deeper into the darkness. Every step echoed back to him, reminding him just how alone he was. But then, as the silence wrapped tighter around him, he heard it. A sound like the wind shifting, low and soft but unmistakable, and then he saw her. At first, he thought she was just part of the rocks, her scales blending into the cave wall like molten gold cooled to solid stone. But then her eye opened, a sliver of amber light cutting through the shadow, and Merrin knew the truth. Mirathan was real, and she wasn't sleeping. He froze, every muscle screaming to run, but his curiosity held him in place. He expected rage, fire, the kind of violence men told stories about, but Mirathan simply stared at him, her ancient face unreadable. "Why have you come here?" she asked, her voice like thunder wrapped in silk. It wasn't a demand or a threat, just a question, simple but heavy. Merrin swallowed, his throat dry. He wanted to lie, to spin some grand excuse for his intrusion, but Mirathan's eyes seemed to pierce straight through him. Lying felt useless. He started, then stopped, his words faltering. Finally he said, "I thought you were dead. I wasn't expecting you." Mirathan tilted her head slightly, a motion both curious and deliberate. "And yet here you are. What is it you seek?" Merrin hesitated. He thought about the gold, the promises it held, the life he might finally build for himself if he could just find it. But then, staring at the dragon before him, a creature older than his greatest hopes or fears, the words felt wrong. "I don't know," he whispered finally. "Maybe I was looking for the stories to be true, or maybe I just wanted to believe in something for once." Mirathan's gaze softened, the fiery amber shimmering like sunlight on water. "You humans forget so quickly," she said, her tone carrying both sorrow and understanding. "You forget the price of greed. Do you think my kind vanished because of some cruel twist of fate? You destroyed us, all for the treasures you now seek, and still you come." Merrin's face burned with shame, but he couldn't look away. To fix the world, you must first change yourself. Leave the greed behind, learn to protect, and perhaps the flames will rise again. And with that, she turned, disappearing deeper into the shadows, her golden light fading but never fully gone. Merrin stepped out of the cave into the cold night air. He had come looking for treasure, but what he'd found instead was worth far more. Emberwind Valley's last dragon wasn't just a legend, she was a reminder of the power of hope and of the responsibility to keep it alive.